This killer was very twisted, and he went by the name of Son of Sam. I'm going to be using my work phone to read about him and to give you some insight. The article starts off as how David Berkowitz became son of Sam and terrorized late 1970s New York City. David Berkowitz stalked New York Street for prey by night, then taunted the cops with disturbing letters that brought the entire city to its knees. Between the summer of 1976 and 1977, Berkowitz, aka Son of Sam, terrorized New Yorkers as he gunned down innocent people in their cars. He claimed that Satan had possessed his neighbor's Sam's dog, which had sent him messages to kill. The story would give Berkowitz his moniker and help to cement his place in serial killer history, but he later admitted that it was all a hoax. Likewise, he was never diagnosed with any mental disorders, and several examinations was found mentally incompetent to stand trial by the state. So as for who to blame for the Son of Sam's 6 killings, in David Berkowitz's own words, it was just me, myself, and I. Richard David Falco, later to be known as David Berkowitz, was born in Brooklyn, New York in 1953. His parents were unwed, and after separating shortly after Berkowitz's birth, put him up for adoption. He was taken in by the Berkowitzes coupled and so renamed. Even as a child, it was obvious to those around Berkowitz that he had a violent tendency. He was caught thieving, destroying property, killing animals, and setting fires. As he grew older, Berkowitz also lamented his lack of social life and his inability to get a girlfriend. Sex, I believe, is the answer, the way to happiness, he once said. This key to happiness is what he felt he was being denied. At 14, his adoptive mother died and his adoptive father remarried. Tensions in the family grew strained. So in 1971, at 18, Berkowitz enlisted. In 1974, 2 years before the Son of Sam killings began, David Berkowitz returned from a 3-year military stint in South Korea. The 21-year-old moved into a small apartment in Yonkers, New York, and found that all his former friends and acquaintances have moved on. Alone and still dealing with those emotions of his adopted mother, Berkowitz grew despondent, lonely, and most of all angry. The following year, at age 22, Berkowitz found out that his birth mother, Betty Falco, who had believed had died in childbirth, was still alive. However, upon meeting her, she seemed somewhat distant and disinterested. This supplemented a growing belief in Berkowitz that he was unwanted not just by his own mother, but by all women. Finally, by Christmas Eve, 1975, something inside David Berkowitz had snapped. He followed 2 teenage girls on the street and stabbed them from behind with a hunting knife. Both survived, but neither could identify the attacker. Unfortunately, the violent outburst was only the beginning. On July 29, 1976, after acquiring a .44 caliber gun in Texas, Berkowitz approached a parked car from behind his first victim. After getting away with his first murder, Berkowitz went on a killing spree that lasted for 12 months. By the time he completed the 8th and final attack in July 1977, he had killed 6 people and wounded 7, almost all of them young couples sitting in their car at night. Since his 6th attack in April 1977, Berkowitz had been writing taunting letters to the New York Police Department, and then also to Daily News columnist Jimmy Breslin. In these letters, that son of Sam and the city-wide fear of him was born. Up to this point, Berkowitz had been dubbed the 44 caliber killer. "To stop me, you must kill me," wrote Berkowitz in one of his letters. "Sam's a thirsty lad, and he won't let me stop killing until he gets his fill of blood," he added. By the end of the Son of Sam's killing spree, New York had gone into a panicked lockdown, as almost all of the female victims had dark hair. Women across New York City began to dye their hair or buy wigs. Of the subsequent search for the so-called Son of Sam was the largest manhunt in New York history at the time. The end of the killings came on July 31st, 1977, when Berkowitz killed Stacy Moskowitz and seriously blinded her companion, Robert Violente, in Beth Beach neighborhood of Brooklyn. After Markowitz's murder, police received a call from a witness who would break the Son of Sam's case wide open. The witness saw a suspicious-looking man near the scene holding a dark object and taking a $35 parking ticket from his car window. Police searched the area ticket records for the day and pulled up the license plate number of a 24-year-old postal worker, David Berkowitz. Thinking at the very least that they had found another witness to the crime, police arrived outside Berkowitz's younger's apartment and saw his car. Inside was a rifle and a duffel bag filled with ammunition, maps of the crime scene, and another letter meant for authorities. Upon Berkowitz's exit from the apartment, arresting officer Detective Valetico held a gun to him and said, "Now that I've got you, who have I got?" "You know," Berkowitz said in what the detective remembered was a soft, almost sweet voice. "No, I don't," Falco insisted. "You tell me." The man turned his head and said, "I'm Sam." Berkowitz reportedly also taunted the arresting officers, asking them what took them so long to find him. Once in custody, Berkowitz informed the police that a man from 6,000 years ago named Sam spoke to him through his neighbor's Sam Carr's black Labrador retriever, commanding him to kill. When police searched Berkowitz's apartment, they found satanic graffiti scrawled on the walls and diaries with details of his cruel activities, including all the fires he set since he was 21. After 3 separate mental aptitude tests, it was determined that the Son of Sam was certainly fit to stand trial. With copious evidence stacked against him, attempts to use an insanity defense thwarted by psychiatric testing, Berkowitz pled guilty to all charges. He was given 6 25 years to life sentences at Shanawak Correctional Facility in Wallkill, New York. His adoptive father, David Berkowitz Sr., sobbed for the victims of his son's violence in a public press conference, offering his condolences and apologies. When asked what the younger Berkowitz was like as a child, Berkowitz Sr. could not reply. David Berkowitz would admit about 3 years later that he truly believed he had been possessed by David Berkowitz would admit about 3 years later that he never truly believed that he had been possessed by his neighbor's dog. So he was a twisted killer and he was attacking women. This was a scary situation during that time in New York. I hear stories start